Welcome to The Explainer. So, India's cities are just booming, right? They're the economic engines, home to hundreds of millions of people. But here's the paradox. What if the mayors we elect to run these huge, complex places are basically powerless? That they're just figureheads? Today, we're going to get into exactly why that is.
I mean, how is that even possible? You've got some of the biggest cities on the planet, and their leaders are just ceremonial? It just doesn't sound right. Well, the answer really gets to a massive, fundamental problem in the way India's cities are actually governed.
Okay, so to really get what's going on now, we need to jump back about 30 years, because back then, a huge landmark law was passed, and it came with this incredible promise for India's cities, the promise of true self-governance. The whole idea was to finally put real power into the hands of local elected leaders.
You know, the idea of city government in India isn't new at all. I mean, we're talking centuries old. But the moment everything was supposed to change was 1992. That's when the 74th Constitutional Amendment came along. And this wasn't just some run-of-the-mill law. No, this was meant to be a total game changer. It was designed to give cities real, actual constitutional power for the very first time.
And the entire promise really boiled down to one number: 18. The law laid out these 18 critical jobs. We're talking everything from urban planning and your water supply to public health and the roads you drive on. You know, the absolute basics you need for a city to even function. And the plan couldn't have been simpler. Take control of all 18 of these things away from the state governments and give it directly to the cities.
All right, so if this powerful law is on the books, what's the problem? Why didn't it work? Well, it all starts with this kind of hidden power struggle that's playing out inside City Hall, day in and day out.
See, in most Indian cities, the leadership has this weird split personality. On one hand, you have the mayor. That's the person you elected, the public face of the city. But their term can be super short, and their role is often just ceremonial. Then on the other hand, you have the municipal commissioner. This person is a powerful bureaucrat appointed by the state government who basically acts as the city's CEO. They control the entire administration, the staff, and, this is key, the money.
And you can literally hear the frustration in the voices of mayors themselves. Listen to what Pushyamitra Bhargav, the mayor of Indore, said. He puts it perfectly. For a city to actually work, the bureaucracy has to be answerable to the people who were elected. The problem? Right now, it's just not.
And make no mistake, this power imbalance is not an accident. It's totally by design. It's part of this much bigger picture where state governments, even with that constitutional amendment in place, are just really reluctant to give up control. And why would they? Cities are huge sources of money and political power.
Okay, I know this chart looks a little complex, but it's actually showing a pretty simple and vicious cycle. Just follow me here. It all starts at the top. Cities don't have control over their own functions or their own money. So what happens next? Well, that leads directly to poor services and really bad governance. And the result of that? People like you and me get frustrated, so citizen participation drops. And where does it all end up? At the very bottom, a lower quality of life for everyone in the city. See, it's like a domino effect where each problem just knocks over the next one.
So why can states get away with this? How can they ignore a constitutional amendment? It all comes down to a single, tiny, but incredibly important word. The law says that states may give these powers to cities. It doesn't say they shall. And that one word, that's the whole loophole. It gave states an out, an option to hold on to power. And it's an option pretty much every single one of them has taken.
And if you need proof, look no further than the data. This chart tells the whole story of that broken promise. I mean, look at this. All these years later, not a single state, 0%, has handed over all 18 of those functions. In fact, 2/3 of them have transferred less than 10. It's wild. It leaves cities with all this responsibility on paper, but absolutely no real power to get anything done.
And you know, when city governments become this weak, something really fundamental starts to break down. Democracy itself. Think about it. States have so little reason to even bother holding city elections on time that some cities have gone without an elected council for, get this, up to 9 years. 9 years without local representation.
Okay, so we've talked about functional power, but there's another piece at the puzzle, and it's maybe the most important one. You guessed it, we have to follow the money. Because for a city to be truly in charge of its own destiny, it needs financial independence. And right now in India, cities are basically being starved of cash.
Just take a look at this diagram. It really shows you how tangled up the money trail is. See that box at the very bottom? That's the city's finances. Now, look up. See all those arrows flowing down from the state and the central governments? That's the story right there. Cities are stuck at the bottom of the food chain, totally dependent on whatever money gets passed down to them. They have very, very little power to raise their own funds.
And to really put this into perspective, let's look at how India compares to other major developing economies. It's pretty shocking. The money that Indian cities raise themselves is only about 1% of the country's entire GDP. Now compare that to South Africa, where it's around 6%, or Brazil, where it's 7%. That is a massive, massive difference. It just shows you how financially squeezed India's cities really are.
And what's crazy is that even the one major tool cities have to raise their own money. Property tax is just not being used effectively. In a lot of cities, they're only collecting taxes from maybe 70% of the properties they're supposed to. That is a ton of money just being left on the table. And that's money that should be fixing your roads, making sure you have clean water, paying for all those local services we depend on.
So, okay, we've painted a pretty grim picture here, a system that seems broken from the ground up. But, and this is a big but, it does not have to be this way. There's actually a really clear, practical roadmap that experts have put together to fix these foundations and actually build the strong, empowered cities that India desperately needs.
All right, so what's the plan? Well, it breaks down into 5 key steps. First, strengthen the mayor. Give them a fixed 5-year term and real executive authority, not just a ceremonial role. Second, boost the city's own revenue. That means systematically fixing property tax collection and user fees. Third, innovate how cities get money. Encourage things like municipal bonds, which some cities like Pune are already using successfully. Fourth, get citizens involved. Activate things like ward committees to give people a genuine say in their own neighborhoods. And finally, the 5th and most crucial step, states must transfer all 18 functions. Finish the job that was started back in 1992.
And the stakes here are just immense. We're talking about one of the biggest urban migrations in all of human history. By 2050, India's cities are going to be home to over 800 million people. Just think about that number. And they'll have to support all those people while dealing with massive challenges like climate change and health crisis. So it really brings us back to that first question we asked. With a future like that on the horizon, can India really afford for its mayors to just be toothless figureheads?